All right, welcome back to This Is Why We Watch Movies. I'm Brian,
And I'm Landon.
and today we have another exciting episode for you. We're going to be talking about a film.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, so all season we've been wanting to bring you our review of the Palme d'Or winning American masterpiece, The Tree of Life. But we couldn't bring it to you today, so we're going to talk about the next American film that won the Palme d'Or just this year, and that is Sean Baker's Anora. I almost forgot what it was called. I'm glad I wrote it down.
How can you forget?
It's such a long title.
It's literally one word.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
I thought Anora was a city.
honestly, it probably is somewhere.
It sounds like one.
I don't know, the city or a town or something. Anyway,
In northern Italy.
it sounds like an Italian city somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the synopsis for Anora is as follows: Anora, a young sex worker from Brooklyn, meets and impulsively marries the son of an oligarch. Once the news reaches Russia, her fairy tale is threatened as his parents set out for New York to get the marriage annulled.
Yeah, that's pretty much what the movie was.
Yeah, that's actually a really good description.
Yeah, I didn't actually know what it was. I hadn't watched a trailer, hadn't looked into anything about it really, and so all I knew was the poster on the ticket that we bought. So going into it, I was fairly blind. And oftentimes that hasn't served me well when going to the movies with you.
Yes. And again, the only one that I truly apologize for was Crimes of the Future.
You know, someone actually referenced that in class yesterday, and they were like, has anyone else seen it? And I was the only person.
Yeah, it was on me. I had assumed that you knew who David Cronenberg was.
Why would you assume that?
And that one was bad. I do feel bad about that one.
Well, you know what? We can move on. But just to
What, you don't want to talk about Crimes of the Future today?
don't want to talk about Crimes of the Future. We're here to talk about Anora, y'all.
Yeah.
So as always, we're going to start by talking about our pros. Would you like to start, or shall I?
No, you go ahead.
So my first pro is the cinematography. I specifically wrote down it's creamy like that good soup.
What?
I don't know. Sometimes you look at like a camera image, and the only way I can describe the bokeh and like the lighting and the way it looks is that it's creamy like that good soup.
Okay. I think the creamy is what's throwing me off.
Maybe that's the film.
Yeah, I don't know. But no, I agree.
The glass is the soup, but the creamy is the film.
Okay.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah. It's weird because this movie, the cinematography is great, but it's hard for me to kind of nail down because it is so different depending on which part of the movie we're in.
Yeah, that's something I'm going to talk about a bit later in terms of the differences between the acts. But I think that, yes, the cinematography is like really good, especially in certain sections.
Yeah, I think that specifically the first act,
Yes.
I think it's particularly strong there. Not that I think it gets weaker or anything moving forward. It's a different style. It's completely shifts, and we're in a different kind of movie at that point. So there's definitely an intent for that.
I know, like, have you seen Lane or Lane?
No.
You know what I'm talking. I pronounced it correctly the first time, right?
Yeah, Lahane.
So that one has a dolly zoom that happens at about the midpoint when the act changes.
Mm-hmm.
And so the film goes from being like this deep focus, open up look into like really shallow focus, only focused on the characters when that change happens. But it's done in camera via the dolly zoom. And I've always thought that was very fascinating. This movie doesn't do that, but it does definitely have that shift like what we're talking about.
Right. No, but I agree. It's a beautiful film.
Yeah. What's yours?
My first one is kind of the obvious. It's Mikey Madison.
Okay.
She's so good as Anora.
I've been thinking it was Mickey this entire time.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny. No, I just think that she's like, it's such a hard character to play because you're not given much information on her. And it all has to kind of be portrayed through you. She does a really good job. And then, like, I think the final moments is what people are going to be talking about. But I think it's just as impressive what she was doing leading up to that point.
For sure. I think that her performance was very good. I actually wrote that down as my third pro, but I will go ahead and talk about it. Yeah, she made you care about Anora as a character without much context going in, so that was really nice. I also wanted to highlight out I think the guy who played Toros was just really funny.
Yes. So this guy's been working with Sean Baker for years. Like notably, he played a large part in Tangerine. But he's been in a lot of other ones in like cameo roles.
I see.
But every time I see him, he's really good. And I'm really glad he's getting the chance to like have a lot to do in this one.
Yeah, no, he was very great. The actor who played Igor, his name is Yurley. He was also fantastic. I think both of them fall into like, I don't know who they are at all, but their comedic timing is impeccable. Like,
Yes.
I didn't really find most of what Anora said or did to be funny as a character, or even like Yvonne, but I loved those two guys and their particular like timing that they brought into their roles.
They had really good banter. Yeah, I think that Yvonne is also...
No one's ever seen me do that before.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
That Yvonne is also... I don't know the actor's name, but he plays it very well.
His first name is Mark.
Mark.
And then,
well,
yeah, I don't know what the other one was.
I've seen him in like interviews and stuff, and I'm like, this is not the same person. He embodied the whole douchebag persona so well. I was like, I fully bought into him being the douche.
He was such a douche that I thought he brought his own bag, you know?
Okay. All right.
That doesn't make any sense.
No.
Yeah, I think that the locations were also really fantastic in this. I mean, oftentimes you see a film have a location and not utilize it. I was about to bring up, this isn't a location, but in 007 Spectre, the new Aston Martin, I think it's the DB10, is like a highlight of the film in the marketing, but it's only there for like 2 minutes, and they really don't utilize it. It just gets blown up. And I think like all the locations in this film don't feel like that at all. Like they get utilized to their extent. We get to see them in different context. We come back to them with different context later on in the film. And I really appreciate that about it. But like the house is awesome. There's so much that the house does, but in every act it kind of has a different purpose. The club is cool. We can see that in two different contexts.
Yeah, HQ.
The boardwalk itself was also awesome. I love the lighting, especially in the evening segment that happens out there. And then when they go to Vegas, they max it out, if you know what I mean.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
Vegas, they got wild. But no, I agree. And I was going to say this because I was thinking about this the other day when I was thinking about the house, specifically the mansion. It kind of like goes back to a conversation we had last week about Here and how the house never felt quite lived in there. And
that's such a better example than the car in James Bond.
And it's the same way here, but here it works because this is an oligarch. This is a millionaire, a billionaire who's like has this house that it's giant and it's beautiful and there's a lot of cool things about it, but it never feels like a home to anybody.
Right.
And here, like, but that serves this story. With Here last week, it was a problem because you needed that.
Yeah.
But here it was like kind of a smart way to like, you know,
utilize the space.
Yeah, utilize the space is a good way to put it.
That's it for my pros. I assume you have another one.
Yeah, I do. I think the screenplay is really strong. Because it goes from almost a fairy tale, which I say almost because depending on who you are.
He a douchebag.
Right. A fairy tale to the moment that it crashes down and then the crazy thing that happens after that. But the comedy in it stays so like at the center that it doesn't feel as jarring as it could have.
Yeah.
It's a really hard like tightrope to walk at this point.
Early on in the film, I think that my review was going to be like Pretty Woman meets The Hangover or something, and then it became something else entirely.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that about it.
Yeah, but again, I think the screenplay is one of the strengths of this film.
For sure.
You had no more?
No more pros.
Okay.
Yeah.
The thing that I keep coming back to is the opening and closing of the film. Because the opening is this beautiful like dolly across these, the club. and playing the Greatest Day song, and just how happy and like vibrant that scene is.
Yeah.
And then like you juxtapose that with the final shot of the film, which I'm not going to spoil because I do think you should go see this movie. But it's like a gut punch.
Yeah.
And like when the movie started this time, like it hit me immediately. I was like, oh, this is where we start. I know where we end. And I was like, that's a really, really strong way to open the film.
Yeah. No, I didn't even think about that aspect of it, but you are correct.
I am correct, yeah.
Yeah, I'll give it to him this time, but only this time.
Yeah, he never. That's weird. It felt weird when you said that. I was like, I don't think he's ever said that to me.
You'd think I'd be over my cold by now, but
No, you're just dying.
no, I'm dying, y'all. This is the last episode.
Yeah. I also think that the editing is really strong in this as well.
Yeah, I think I would lump that in with like what I was talking about with the cinematography. Like, I didn't notice the editing.
Yeah.
Which probably means it's really good editing.
Yeah. Sean Baker edits his own films. So that's also like,
Yeah, he talked about that.
Yeah. I don't know. At some point, I feel like he might not, but or maybe he will.
He seems like he wants to wear all the hats. And when I was in the session with him that one time, he was talking about like his process being smaller in scale than what other people do, and that's what makes his films different.
It's interesting because you've got to be in a Zoom call with him, and
that was a long time ago. This was before he won the award. This was like a masterclass session that my film school did, and I didn't actually know who he was.
Yeah, so. I'm at a film festival, and I get a face Snapchat from you that's like, "Do you know who Sean Baker is?" And I was like, "Yes, I know who Sean Baker is. I'm a big fan." And he just sends me a picture of him in the Zoom call, and I'm just angry. It just ruined the day. I was like, this is so lame.
Yeah. But I said hi. He said my name. I don't think he wouldn't remember me because I didn't say anything else the whole call.
Yeah. But, well, other people made impressions, but
yeah, that's true.
Regardless.
Anyways, moving on. Sean Baker, if you ever see this, thank you for coming to UNCW.
Yeah.
Moving into the cons about your movie now. This is like more of a me complaint, and I think a lot of these are going to feel like nitpicks that I'm bringing out because I'll preface I actually did like the movie a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like a lot of the side characters didn't feel as developed as the main characters, and normally that's the case. But I'm talking like Yvonne's friends or like some of the other dancers at HQ. It's like they're just kind of there, but they don't do much. And I don't know if that's a problem, but they don't feel like fully fleshed out people or like they have as large of an impact on the story as you would expect for like the way that they're introduced.
I don't disagree, but I think that for me, and it's something I was going to bring up kind of in my closing thoughts, was like, I do think it's intentional.
Yeah.
Very much to like not give these people much of a voice or much of a, or, it's very much about, I'll bring it up later. So I'll circle back around, but yeah.
Circle back around. And again, that's like, it's a weird thing to bring up, but that was something that irked me a bit.
Okay. Fair. I do have one that I put as a con, but really it just turns into a pro for me by the end.
Typical Landon, y'all. Yeah. Typical Landon not understanding the assignment.
No, I understood the assignment. I would say that for some people, the runtime will be a little long.
Okay.
For me, I think with the 3 distinct phases of the film, I never felt the runtime. But I know that you had said after the movie was over that you did.
Yeah, that was my next complaint. I thought that the pacing felt not off to me, but a bit wobbly. So the middle section of the film where they're, I guess, looking for Yvonne is fantastic. I loved all of that. And that's when, I guess, my favorite characters were at their prominent position in the film. I feel like the beginning went on a bit too long, and I felt disconnected from the film. And I think that's intentional, right? Because it's building into Yvonne as just a big jerk. Mm-hmm. But I was like, I get the picture. And I think you have to sit with it in a bit more discomfort as, Anora isn't seeing that. But
well, I don't know if she's not seeing that. I think that she's just she sees a chance at something like better.
Right. She sees like potential for it to move past that, perhaps.
Right.
But I don't know. I think that first part with the partying, and also maybe it's just like maybe like, okay, we get it, drugs, like wanting to move past. But it's not that it's bad. It's just it goes on for. It felt like a really long time before the vibe shifted into like the part of the movie that I really enjoyed, and then there's kind of like the pacing also flip flops back off a bit to me by the end of the film. And again, that's not a bad thing. When I say it feels long in the same way that Return of the King feels long. Like there's an ending that happens, but Sean Baker chooses to keep going and show us more. And you talked about this. The ending is very impactful. I'm not going to deny that. I just think that I started to check out before it happened.
Interesting.
But then it checked me back in. But I know for some people that might not be the case. So I'm just tossing that out there. That like I think it could be about 20 minutes shorter, but it doesn't need to be 20 minutes shorter.
Yeah. No, I definitely, it's definitely going to be a preference for each individual person. Yeah. It's going to be a little different. So that's totally fair.
But no, that's pretty much it on that.
Okay. Yeah. No, I just wanted to like kind of say that like, no, I'm a big Sean Baker fan. So I've seen everything of his except for Prince of Broadway. And this very much feels like a Sean Baker film, but at the same time, it's definitely a step in a different direction. Because to me, this doesn't feel as much as a character study as as most of his other stuff is. And this is definitely more just about kind of an overview of like how the rich are treating the working class and how it's it's all transactional.
Right. There's that transaction aspect of it, which brings me to my last con.
Okay.
And this is me really grasping at straws, and that's that I feel like the Russians are just more like caricatures towards the end. Like, and again, that comment about the side characters goes into Yvonne's parents as well, like the oligarchs. Mm-hmm. But also, I know that there is truth in like their attitudes and all, but it is just like for what we see in the film, there's not much depth to it.
Well, one of them is supposed to become a character because he has a concussion, and they just won't take him to the hospital.
Yeah.
So he's like literally has brain damage by the end of the film.
That's true. That's true.
But no, it's definitely hitting on like the way that the rich just kind of throw money around.
Yeah.
And even Toros, who's not a rich person, is working for this rich family and relies on them for his livelihood.
Right. And it's a situation that reminds me, like I've been watching some video essays about Hollywood films or like films that have like the eat the poor or eat the rich like mentality. Eat the rich is correct. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And that it's within like film circles, they like generally celebrate that sort of story. But there's always like a disconnect in that like the people that are the ones causing the celebration are what the film is protesting against usually.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what's interesting about something like this winning at Cannes as well, I think.
Yeah.
But that's not to like discredit the movie. I think it's a good movie.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think it's also, there's something to say about like, that I've heard Sean Baker talk about this before too, is he's very like cognizant about like, he's like, I'm making movies about people like that society doesn't care about and they have no money.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm very careful with how I'm going to spend my money when it comes to making something. So like, while this is more expensive than probably anything he's done, compared to what most people would try to do with this, I think it worked out pretty well.
For sure. Well, do you have any more cons or do you want to move into your final thought?
Oh, that was my final thought.
Oh, well, my final thought is I like it, but it feels like Moonlight and how different the three acts are. And here, it didn't mesh as well for me as it does in Moonlight, but that doesn't take away from, like, I guess the film itself's impact and the performance's impact. And it makes sense that the French would like this. So,
shout out the French.
Yeah, I'd give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay, I give it a 5 out of 5. It's one of my favorites of the year.
Landon is basically French, y'all, if you didn't know it. Like, his movie taste just aligns with whatever the Cahiers says.
I guess so.
He is the Cahiers of America.
Yeah, that's it.
So
I do like French films, so it's not surprising.
It makes sense, yeah. Excuse me. Well, that was our review of Anora. It's a very excellent film. It's in theaters for a little bit, so definitely check it out. And if you don't get to it, watch it as soon as you can on streaming.
Yeah, I also assume that around the first of the year, it'll probably get a re-release around the nominations time.
Yeah, if this isn't nominated, I think we should actually riot, like I've been saying.
I don't know. I don't say riot. But,
We riot on behalf of Sean.
We can get angry, but I don't know about riot. But yeah, I would assume that they'll get a re-release of this in case you missed it.
Yeah. Well, as always, you can follow us at TIWWWM Pod, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and what's that other one? Threads. We're on all of those.
Yeah.
I've been posting clips again. We've had people following us left and right. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's nice.
Although one clip today got taken down, and the sound that was banned was from our podcast, and I don't know what's about that or what.
Which one was it?
The one I posted about here.
Really?
Yeah, just like the sound is removed and they're not letting me appeal it. So if you can, write into TikTok and complain on our behalf.
Yeah, that's crazy. TikTok, they're screwing us.
Yeah, they don't like the small creators.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But anyways, this week we had some ideas for different things to do, and you came up with the Rotten Tomatoes score game, but I brought it together because I want to stump you.
Okay.
So basically, the way the game works is I'm going to name off some films. And tell you a number, and you have to guess whether or not it is the audience score or the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes.
So you're going to tell me the movie and the score, and I have to guess which one's which?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I guess I should preface this. I am not a Rotten Tomatoes user at all.
That's how I know I'm going to stump you.
So I have no clue, of all the movies we've watched recently, I don't know that I looked at the Rotten Tomatoes scores on any.
I have most of them on here, except for Anora. I didn't pull that.
Yeah. But no. So this is going to be interesting for sure.
We're going to start off with a classic, okay?
Okay, let's do it.
Spy Kids.
Okay.
93%.
Okay. I'm gonna okay. It could go either way, I feel like, because I think that's a well-received movie by the critics. And I know that fans like it. I'm going to say that that's the critics.
That is, in fact, the critic score, yes.
Oh, yes.
The audience
It's
score
that high?
is 47.
No way.
Yeah, legit.
What?
Yeah, apparently audiences don't love Spy Kids, but the critics do, and that makes sense.
That's crazy.
Shout out Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, shout out Robert Rodriguez. That's crazy.
All right, I haven't seen this one. We're going to see what you think.
Okay.
The Boondock Saints.
Oh, yeah, okay.
91%.
That's audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that movie sucks.
It's a 26% critic.
Yeah. I know, I shouldn't say it sucks. I think the movie has a lot of problems. I understand why people like it, but there's no way that the critics gave it that high. There was zero chance.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard. The only thing, I just remember when Evan Peters is the guy that played Quicksilver. Yeah. He appears on The Office as Michael Scott's nephew in one episode. Yeah. It's the one where he gets spanked.
Yes.
And in his introduction, he says, "I'm a cinephile, and my favorite films are Citizen Kane and the Boondock Saints."
That's really funny.
Yeah. Anyways, The Substance, 74%.
See, to me, that feels low for the critics, in my opinion. I'm going to go audience.
That is, in fact, the audience score. Dude, the critic score is 90.
Crushing this.
I should have chose harder films.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, here we go. Here, 58%.
All right, I'm going to go, okay. It's Robert Zemeckis.
Mm-hmm.
I think the people who are going to go see it are going to, in general, come out being like, that's pretty good. I'm going to go with that's critics.
Nope, that's the audience score.
Dude, no way.
The critic score is 35.
Oh, my word.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, man, that's crazy.
All right, here we go. Next one, Saturday Night.
Okay.
84%.
See, this is one that I feel like could be pretty even as far as audience and critics. Oof.
It could be, but is it?
I don't know. I'm going to go 84. That sounds like a good critic number.
That is, in fact, the audience score.
No, that's 2 in a row. All right, I got to lock back in. Hold on.
Excuse me. Yeah, the audience score for Saturday Night is 84,
Okay.
and the critic score is 78.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So it's not far off.
I was right. They're pretty close on that one.
All right. Joker, Folie à Deux,
Okay.
32.
That's audience.
No,
It got a 32 on Rotten Tomatoes?
it's actually both. It has the same audience and critic score, 32.
What movie did they watch?
Joker, Folie à Deux.
I feel like I'm that 32.
32 critic and audience, yeah.
I thought that the critics would at least be a little more generous on that. That's crazy.
All right.
Okay.
The Nice Guys,
Okay.
91%.
Critics.
That is, in fact, the critic score,
Yeah.
yes. It's
Yeah,
78% audience.
Losers, dude. The
Yeah.
audiences are losers.
The audience doesn't get it.
They really
Just
don't.
I haven't even seen it, so I don't get it.
Yeah, you should.
I'm good.
You've met the man.
I've met Shane Black, but
Yeah,
that doesn't mean
See,
I should.
This is what makes me mad. Okay, we didn't talk about this. I don't think we talked about this last week.
No, we didn't.
He goes off to the Austin Film Festival and he's like, I'm going to go to a panel with Shane Black. And I gave him one job. I said, I need you to get information on The Nice Guys too. When's this happening? He sends me a picture of him and Shane Black, and I'm like, so what's the deal? Did not ask.
Look, it didn't seem appropriate, and I also was like, you've really inspired me today. Like, I'm going to go back and write my thesis in Wilmington, North Carolina. And he just goes, ain't that nice?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But,
I
you
didn't
know.
have time, okay? There was a long line.
That's crazy.
Okay. All right. This is where we're going to get to some contention.
Okay.
Nacho Libre, 55%.
Oh. That's got to be critics.
That is, in fact, the audience score.
Wow, the audience got one right, dude. Actually,
Yeah.
that's kind of high still.
The critic score is 39.
See, I would... Yeah.
I think that 55 on audience makes sense because Nacho Libre is a very divisive film. If you like it, you love it. If you hate it, you hate it.
Yeah, this podcast is a supreme example of that.
I-
On this side of the table, hatred.
I have,
Loves it on that side.
like, I think this movie might be more divisive than The Last Jedi, like, in terms of, like, fan base. But, you know, at the end of the day, I find a lot of enjoyment in it. I'm not going to be like, wow, this is the best movie ever made. I just think it's funny.
Yeah.
I like fart jokes. You've walked around with me on campus enough to know.
Yeah. After we get done with this game, I want to bring up something.
Sure.
But because you brought up Star Wars and it made me think about it.
All right.
So I want to just remind me that we need to talk about Star Wars.
Well, our next score is for Star Wars A New Hope,
Oh, okay.
96.
See, I would like to think that's critics, but something tells me it's not. I'm going to go with that's the audience.
That is the audience score. The critic score is 93.
Yeah. Okay.
Not far off. That
No.
one's very close. And then this is a final fun one. MILF Manor Season 2,
Oh,
80%.
got to be audience.
That's the audience.
Yeah.
The critic score is non-existent for Season 2, but
Yeah.
for the overall show, it is 14%.
Yep. That tracks.
Yeah. But also to note, that season that actually has the rating, the audience score was 56. So I think if critics went back and watched this, it'd probably bump up into the 30s.
Well, with TV shows, it's very different because if you look at every season of a show, less and less critics are watching it.
Yeah.
So the critics who are still watching it are going to be the ones who are enjoying it.
Right, but I'm saying if
And
these
the audience would be the same way.
if these go back and reassess, I think Season 2 is inherently better than Season 1.
I haven't watched all of season 1, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't watched all of season 2, but
I can just tell you it's better. Anyways.
okay.
What do you want to bring up on Star Wars?
So it came out that apparently Lucasfilm has said that Rey is their most profitable character.
That makes sense.
Correct. This has stirred up a ton of controversy online. I don't even need to say who's starting the controversy because we all know who
you know who it is.
But like, what is wrong with these people?
You mean that person?
Yeah. Well, I
Well.
mean, yes,
There's really 3 of them, but yes.
yes, but it's the Legion that follow him on like
You mean them. We
Yeah.
can't. No pronouns.
the Legion that follow them. Like, they're all like agreeing with him because I like. For some reason, Twitter thinks that I want to see this guy's posts.
Yeah, well, it's related to the thing you love the most. So, like,
But like, to me and you,
Excuse me.
makes total sense that yes, Rey would be your most profitable character at this point, and they wanted to put her in more of an Obi-Wan role moving forward.
Yeah.
I don't see a problem with this.
So the thing with Rey is when you go back and you look at like kids that are coming into college now, like 18-year-olds, they grew up with Rey.
Yeah.
As being like their Luke Skywalker. And even if you and I maybe don't fully understand or resonate with the character, that's Luke Skywalker to a whole generation of Star Wars fans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because again, we are adults at this point. Like, not everything Star Wars is going to be catered to us anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I think we have to acknowledge that and like relax a little bit.
I mean, I'm excited to see more content with Rey.
Me too.
I actually never really had any ill will towards the character. If anyone ever goes and listens to my soapbox, my issues are more so with the overall plot arc of the story, but not really with Daisy Ridley. Like, I think that she did great in the role.
Yeah,
especially with what she was given.
Yeah, she's a good actress.
Yeah.
She's a good actress. And yes, I have problems with, a lot of the how Rey's story, towards the end, really, because a lot of the stuff leading up to it, I'm totally on board with.
Sure.
But to already be like putting down the next Star Wars thing before, I don't even think it's in production yet.
No.
So like, I don't know. I guess it's still just that same frustration of like, you won't let anything in Star Wars be good anymore because you're just angry that it's not exactly what you're looking for.
I think we should get like red hats and make Star Wars great again.
I'm good. It's a hard pass.
Why not?
I don't know. I'm just,
I think that'd really kill at the conventions.
Oh, I don't know about all that.
I don't know. I'm excited. I'm really excited for the James Mangold film that's not quite out yet.
Yeah, me too.
Not quite started filming yet. Did you hear that The Mandalorian and Grogu is wrapped, though?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm also... The Simon Kinberg news came out about Star Wars as well while we're talking about Star Wars.
Yeah. We can actually talk about this because we can shout out Carl.
Yeah.
Because he's been on the show, friend of the show. He sent us a tweet and was like, oh, look, Simon Kinberg is writing the new Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah, but people forget that this guy is like, he's been in the industry forever and he's done a lot of good stuff.
Like, he may have written Fantastic.
Yes.
But he also wrote X-Men Days of Future Past.
Correct.
He may have directed.
He produced most of the X-Men movies.
Yeah, he wrote almost all of them.
Right. So,
and
relax.
he was the co-showrunner for Rebels, which is one of the best Star Wars properties in general. So,
yeah,
I have no doubt that like that's going to end up being pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where people like just when they posted it, they're like Simon Kinberg, and they put the worst titles next to his name to try to like, I don't know, get people angry. I don't know.
Right. Like, no one is posting like, I'm trying to think of a filmmaker with like, if you're like, oh, Steven Spielberg to direct, and then no one is posting like Always or 1941 is like his like films. They're gonna post, oh, director of Jurassic Park and Schindler's List.
Right.
So I don't know. I think there's a discrepancy in that.
Now, I will say that I think he is set to be writing and producing. Correct.
Yeah, he's not even directing.
Correct. That's the thing. It's like, I don't think he's only directed one thing, I think.
Yeah, well, that was Dark Phoenix.
Yeah. So I don't know that he's interested in directing it.
I don't know if Dark Phoenix was really his fault, though.
Well, I don't think that Fantastic was his fault necessarily.
No.
To me, it seems like there's a lot of problems with that movie.
I think in general, just 20th Century Fox. And it's interesting to say that about them because they also put out Logan and Deadpool in that same time period. But I don't know. They were so hit or miss as a studio because they lacked someone like Kevin Feige that had a creative vision going for the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And that's also kind of what's been plaguing Star Wars for the past 9-10 years is that like there hasn't been one creative voice that's like, this is what we're going to do for the franchise. You have the story group. You have like Pablo and company that are helping steer the story, but there's no one that's been like, this is the vision for what's going forward. They basically are just like dungeon masters that approve what's going on. Yeah. And so I think even if Simon Kinberg or Dave Filoni or even Jon Favreau, like kind of take that role of like creative producer for a larger thing in Star Wars so that it's more connected, but it also just feels like there's a point to it, I'm totally on board.
Yeah, but if you're interested in to be entertained for just a moment, go on Letterboxd and look at Josh Trank's review of Fan Four Stick.
That's a 2-star review. It's quite good.
Yeah, it's iconic.
Yeah, he's only made one other film since then.
What
That was Al Capone with Tom Hardy.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
it didn't do well either.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I've tried to forget that movie existed.
haven't we all? I don't know. I haven't watched it. I only, in terms of Al Capone movies, I only really like The Untouchables. So.
Oh, yeah. Untouchables is really good.
Yeah. But anyways, I guess we can move into what we've been watching.
Okay.
Yeah. So, a pretty short list for me. I've been playing a lot of Black Ops 6, and doing homework, of course, because school.
Yep.
Right? And so I watched Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, and The Amazing Spider-Man. They're all about the same as I remember. Spider-Man 2, masterpiece, obviously. The Amazing Spider-Man is much more boring in the action scenes than I had recalled, but that was the Spider-Man movie and been the longest since I visited, so maybe 4 years. Yeah. And then I watched Anora, and then Picnic at Hanging Rock, the Peter Weir film from the 70s. And I was very sad to learn it's not the Hanging Rock in North Carolina.
Wow. Have you never seen it before?
No, I hadn't.
Oh, wow.
Also, again, I'm sorry. I'm still recovering from the cold that I had. I've said that a few times.
Interesting. So after we talked about it last week, I did go home and finish Goodfellas because I watched the opening and then I went and watched the last 2 hours and 25-ish minutes of it.
Nice.
And then I watched. I went to the theater and saw Heretic, which is very good. Hugh Grant is very good in this movie. It's also interesting because I really expected there to be a lot of controversy within the Mormons for this movie. But I've seen multiple Mormons on TikTok go out, leave the movie, and be like, "Thank you for not portraying us like idiots."
Well,
it was interesting because I think the movie is very, it's very nuanced for sure, and when particularly with how it talks about religion, it does compare it to fast food at one point, which was interesting. They start talking about Burger King, and I was like,
have it your way.
I was like, that's crazy.
I mean, yeah, if you think about it, religion is have it your way.
Well, they were talking about favorite fast food places at one point in the movie.
Yeah. I don't know. See, I like McDonald's. They found the perfect balance,
Here
bro.
we go.
Trust me.
This guy's just going to start quoting his own films now. That's crazy. I also, and we didn't talk about this before, it just happened by an accident, is I also watched quite a few Spider-Man films this weekend.
Yeah.
I watched Far From Home, No Way Home, and then The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. I liked The Amazing Spider-Man more than I did the last time I watched it. Everything you said is 100% correct.
Yeah. Especially coming off the heels of the Tobey Maguire movies. Like, the action scenes in those are at least interesting, even if, they're goofy.
Yeah. The problem I think I have in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it's probably the first time I've seen it since the year it was released.
Weird.
Because I have not rewatched it. I watched every other film leading up to No Way Home except for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And it was just as bad as I remembered.
That's crazy.
I've
always been in a minority on this one, though. Like, I enjoyed it when it came out. I've watched it a insane amount.
Here's the thing.
It's only a 3-star movie to me as well. I need to interject that.
Yeah, it's a 2-star for me. But the problems that you have with the first movie are still there. But the stuff that made the first movie enjoyable for me is all gone. Everything in between I found quite insufferable. I found everything with Peter and Gwen incredibly obnoxious.
See, I actually prefer the relationship much more in the second film.
I don't.
But again,
it's so
different things we're looking for in a Spider-Man movie.
I guess it's just so it's so juvenile at that point. I'm like, oh,
they are still kids.
I know. It doesn't make it better for me.
Okay.
It's like I can understand that they're juvenile and it's also still insufferable.
Yeah. I think that there's, with Amazing Spider-Man 2, I really appreciate the last, fight with Electro. So through the city leading up to the power grid. And then when Goblin comes up and does his thing. I wish the Goblin was introduced a bit differently in this movie.
You know, I'm gonna say this,
But I like the last 40 minutes of this movie a lot. And it's the lead up to it that I have issues with.
the last 40 minutes are fine. I was just so checked out by that point. But here's what I will say, and I know that I'm in the minority on this because every time I bring it up to anybody, they look at me like I'm crazy.
Well, you are.
I think that Dame DeHaan is one of the only people in this movie who knew what movie he was in.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I don't like what they did with Harry in this at all, but I think that for the role that they gave him, he crushed it.
He walks around, he's
Like he is totally he's totally a comic book character.
yes.
And I was like, I really appreciate what he's doing, even though most people hate it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Again, but I know that I'm in the minority on that one.
It's interesting how the ending of this movie also kind of mirrors The Last Jedi and him inspiring someone else to go out and stand up against evil. Because The Last Jedi ends with the kid in the broomstick, right? I can be part of the rebellion. And in this movie, he inspires, I think it's Jorge, to go out there and stand in front of the Rhino as Spider-Man, even though he has no powers. And I think that is what the movie's really about. This is why we watch movies.
Okay, I don't know if I fully buy into that theory, but
I've overthought it.
I would say you probably.
I used to listen to the soundtrack to TASM 2 constantly. I had it.
The soundtrack's good.
The soundtrack's amazing,
Yeah.
dude. It's in my opinion, it's the best score for any Spider-Man movie. Yeah. And I love the Danny Elfman stuff, but this one captures that kineticness. So anyways,
well,
I love it.
I like the Danny Elfman more, but I also think this is a really good score.
It's a great score. While we're here, I just want to talk about it. How do you feel about all the stuff with Pete's dad?
I like it.
See, I think that that's the most interesting addition to the film.
Yeah.
And I wish that they continued that story arc and even in No Way Home or something. I know that Gwen's the thing to focus on, but it's I care. Have you seen the deleted scene?
Yes.
Why is it not in there?
Yeah. It's the best acting of any Spider-Man movie I've ever seen.
Yes. Yeah. This movie had potential, bro.
Well, and that's kind of the big thing too. There was so little in the movie of the Peter and his dad stuff that to me, you could have cut half of the Peter and Gwen stuff and put more of that in, and I think that I would have been way more generous on the movie.
Interesting. Yeah. I know it was kind of controversial when it came out because it was such a deviation from the lore, but I really enjoyed it then, still enjoy it now. And I think that maybe that's it too, is that I've always been on my blog way back when, before I had a podcast, I used to review movies, and I was I know that this movie had some issues, but it's setting up everything for the next movie to be wild, and then that movie never happened.
Yeah, no, I agree that the setup was cool. They were setting up something really cool, I think, for the finale. I assume a finale. But yeah, we're never going to get to see that. So now it really feels useless at this point.
Yeah. I kind of want Marvel to just do what they do with other things and greenlight a comic book series so I can at least read it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I want an official ending of this that's co-signed by the screenwriters and everything. So
yeah, well, let's continue the Spider-Man talk for a minute because I have about 5 missions left.
Okay.
In Spider-Man 2.
Oh, you're near the end.
I'm at the end. I guess we'll talk spoilers for a minute. I haven't got to the very end, so don't spoil the very end. But I've officially got past the point where the Venom suit is off now.
Okay, have you made it to the other thing?
Venom has basically destroyed a lot of stuff and created Venom armies, basically.
That's true.
That is exactly where I stopped.
Okay. Did you ever play Web of Shadows as a kid?
No.
They're basically doing that, but yes.
Interesting. But no, I talking about differences in lore stuff. I really love what they did with Harry in this.
Yeah.
The way that they introduced him, and then because for a long time I kept going, are they ever gonna is there gonna be a turn? What's going on here? And it took forever to get to that point.
I mean, really, they're still slow burning because I think we're gonna have Norman finally be Green Goblin probably in the third film or third game.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. That changed with Spider-Man lore is that Green Goblin's usually one of the first villains that Spider-Man fights.
Yeah.
And in this version, he's been Spider-Man for like 10 years and has never confronted Green Goblin.
Yeah.
And I find that fascinating.
Yeah, I had my second MJ mission as well. So that, they're fine. They're just whatever. But no, I'm really enjoying it. I wish that the Miles stuff was more meat to it.
Yeah.
It's like it literally is like, oh, we're gonna go back to Miles for a minute, but everything that he's doing is just in service of moving the story forward for Peter.
Yeah.
And that to me is obnoxious because I think Miles is such a good character and I understand that, like, I'm sure that it's not going to stay that way for whatever games are coming next. But that is my biggest complaint with the game so far.
Yeah, that's a very valid complaint. And I know you haven't played Miles Morales, but that is very much so a Miles-focused story about Miles's life.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that after, I think, and just play it as a prequel.
You should.
But yeah, and I'm really enjoying Spider-Man 2. The gameplay is still just as good as it was. So yeah, that's it. And then I watched Anora again. Forgot about that. But yeah.
Nice. Well, that's all we have for you this week on This Is Why We Watch Movies. I'm going to plug it again. Follow us on social media at TIWWWMPod. And share with your friends. Leave a comment. All those things. Goodbye.
Bye.